If I pull through this disease or whatever, I promise I'll always go to church, or I promise I'll give a lot of money to whatever, you know what I'm saying? We bargain to try to change the outcome of something. Now in divorce, the children dream about the parents getting back together again, may even suggest it. So the advice is, don't give children false hope just to save them that moment of pain. Okay? Let them go through this stage at their own pace and help them understand that this family is the family that will now be permanently established. We're not going back. This is the new truth. Difficult, we want, the last thing we want for our children is for them to suffer. And I understand that as a parent as well. We would rather take the suffering ourselves. Let me suffer this for them, but it doesn't work that way. They have to come to that realization. Sometimes children all of a sudden are very good and very obedient. Your wild child all of a sudden becomes really, oh mommy, I love you and everything is great. And try to understand that that's a form of bargaining sometimes. If I'm really, really good and if I really, really obey and so on and so forth, maybe everything will get back to what it was. And of course the root of that is the child many times may think they had something to do with it. Depression is the next stage, or one of the stages. Don't get me wrong, these things don't normally follow in order, right? I mean, they're just different stages, and adults as well as children, they bounce from one to another. So don't put the denial, then anger, then bargaining. Don't put these on a continuum. Put it like a circle instead. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, etc. It's a circle, and they go from here to here, down to up and down, and they go around and around until they finally land somewhere. Depression, the roller coaster nature of blended families is what leads to depression. In death, the loss is final. We get we get over the sadness and the reminders, and we go on. It's difficult. Dad is gone, or mom is passed. It's hard. I'll never see them again, and so on and so forth. But in blended families, the loss is always there. And your children are always reminded of it every other weekend if there's visitation. Eventually the loss is mourned out when new relations take hold in the blended family and children resolve feelings about biological parents and they create new and meaningful relationships with them. In other words, they have to now learn how to create a new relationship with the parent who is gone. And they have to learn how to create a new relationship with the new parent that has arrived. And there's no way around that. The relationship with the parent that is gone is never going to be what it was in the past. And they just have to get to that point. If they are unavailable, this may be very difficult. When I say if the parent that's no longer there, the non-custodial parent, if that parent is not available, wants nothing to do with the children, there's no way around that. That is a very difficult situation. But children, with your love and with your encouragement, can eventually deal with that issue. And then of course, the idea of acceptance. Acceptance is the realization that the blended family is not a nuclear family. It is not my original family, but it's a good family, and there's a place in this family for me. And I am loved in this family, and I can't say it enough. Parents, both parents, bio parent and step parent, you can't tell your children enough that you love them. You can't say it enough. You can't demonstrate it enough, because in the end, their loss and their fear is that they've lost the love of the parent. And so they need a lot of reassurance. Peter, the apostle, says, love covers a multitude of sins in 1 Peter 4:8. In blended families where there is faith and Christian love, the sins of the past are covered and a chance for a peaceful and joyful family experience are there for each member, because not only the love of the parents are there, but the love of Christ is there as well. All right. Let's talk about development levels, shall we? Just as there are specific reactions of children to divorce and the reforming of family, there's also specific needs of children at each age group when they find themselves in this blended family situation. So from 0 to 2 years of age, they need a lot of touching and nurturing as a way of reassurance that everything, despite the changes, everything is okay. Imagine these little kids, when, from 0 to 2 years, a family breaks up, they can't articulate their feelings, they can't say, "Mommy, what's going on? Where's Daddy?" They can't say that. All they know is that things have changed. Things have changed. And those of you, and I look around and I think pretty much everybody here, those of you who have children who remember the little baby stage, babies don't like change. I mean, just one day you take them out of their routine and you go visit grandma or something, oh boy, you pay for it when you get home, because if they miss the time for their nursing or they miss their nap, how great are kids when they don't take their nap? So imagine the impact on them when you take daddy out of the equation or you take mommy out of the equation. So they need a tactile reassurance. You can't, this business says, don't hold that little 8-week-old baby, don't hold that little 1-year-old baby, you'll spoil them. You can't spoil them. Nobody gets spoiled from being loved too much. From 3 to 5 years of age, children at this stage are old enough to know that something is wrong, but they're too young to process all of the information, and they also have a short memory. Little toddlers at that age, they're over here looking, you ever try to teach little kids this age how to play soccer? 1 minute they're looking at the ball and the coach says, go ahead, run with the ball, kick the ball. And the next minute they're going, oh, flower, dandelion. They're sitting, they don't pay attention. So it helps to explain things over and over again and be patient with regressive behavior. In other words, the child who's 4, the way that they act out when they go through trauma like this is they regress. They begin to act like 2-year-olds. A child that was potty trained all of a sudden isn't potty trained anymore, and parents are going, what? What's going on? Well, that's how they react. That's how they act out. Okay? So allowing them to bring comforting objects to the new home helps. As much of a reminder of the past that you can provide for them in the new situation can be helpful. Children from 6 to 12 years of age. This is the age group where there is a feeling of responsibility. Kids this age, it's my fault, or they somehow feel it's their responsibility to bring mommy and daddy back together again. Or they have a sense of adult grief. Now, one thing that's very important when there are children this age, for parents, whoever the parent is, custodial parent, non-custodial parent, do not use children this age as a sounding board for your own fears, your own anger, your own blame of the situation. You see parents sometimes talking to their 10-year-old daughter, mom is talking to the 10-year-old daughter about dad. Well, what did your dad say? Well, that's par for the course for him. He was never very dependable. Don't. That is the worst thing you can do. Do not bring the child into your circle of enmity against your spouse. It's too much for them. I think we need to understand that children are wired in such a way that they need to love their mom and they need to love their dads. Even if mom is not worth loving for whatever reason, or even if dad is not worthy of the love of that child for his behavior or whatever, it doesn't matter. The child has a need to love that parent. So when mom or dad, it works both ways, are bouncing their negative feelings, like playing tennis off of a wall, bouncing the ball back and forth for their anger, their disappointment, their disgust, whatever about the other partner, they don't realize that in doing that, they're damaging their child. Their fear is one of abandonment. Their fear is one of powerlessness and distrust. What do you think a child feels when they've lost a parent in this way? Well, their thinking subconsciously is that, well, adults, they just leave you. And adults, they can't be trusted. They need to know that they are okay. So of course we need to talk and encourage them, allow them to make small decisions for themselves. Be kind to ex-spouses, even if they don't deserve it. And keep your promises. You know, these children have already been disappointed quite a bit. So the worst thing we do, and I know stuff comes up, you promise I'll be there for the game and then there's a big emergency at work, we understand that. But as much as, I tell parents, whatever you do, do not overpromise. Because parents who have been through divorce, with the children, they tend to overpromise as a way of making up to them the damage that's taken place in the family. Don't overpromise. Better you underpromise and deliver than overpromise and not deliver. All right, the group 13 and above. Adolescents struggle with growing up in the most stable of nuclear families, so it's normal that in a blended family, problems are simply magnified or increased. So for children in this age group where there is a divorce, the main issue is independence. In a nuclear family, the issue is negotiated with biological parents to an eventual decision. Mom and dad sit down, these are both the bio parents of this child, and they talk about curfew issues, driving, how far you can drive and all that kind of stuff. But with the blended family, teenagers have to cope with the independence issue. You have to work out with the single parent and work it out now with the new parents and work it out with the separated parents. All the parents have an opinion. So in each case the rules are different and the standards change, and this leads to confusion and discouragement. If when you go to dad's place on the weekend, you get to stay up till 1 a.m. and your curfew is midnight, or something like that, and you can skip supper and eat late, and if you can drive his car, and then when you go home to the custodial parents, curfew is at 10 o'clock, you cannot have the car after 9 p.m., you can't be driving around after, you see what I'm saying? I mean, these kids are confused. The goal, of course, is one standard that everyone can agree to. Look, there's even this problem in nuclear families, right? Where mom and dad don't agree on exactly what the rules should be. So you can imagine how complicated it gets in blended families, where you have mom and the new dad over on this side, and then you have dad and maybe the new mom on that side, and now you got 4 bosses trying to figure out your, your curfew and your rules. I just tell parents, look, parents, get your heads together first and come up with, negotiate what you can agree on, and then, but whatever you do, do not negotiate in front of your children. Okay? Children react, and children at different ages react and need different things if a blended household is going to serve them, not just the adults as a home. In other words, the new home is their home too. Don't make them feel like strangers. All right, let's talk about life in 2 homes. All right, we're talking about kids here and how they react to the blended families if you came in a little late. So let's talk about parenting styles, shall we? At least when the divorce comes, the spouses don't have to live with each other